Welcome back to the Sam Acho podcast featuring Cliff Marshall, a place where we go first, we give space, and we grow hope. We talk about faith, family, football, and finances. And Cliff, today we have a very, very, very special guest. So why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest to the audience?
Sam, I've been trying to introduce this guest to the audience for months because George Fant has one of the most incredible stories in the entire National Football League. And I was a chapter in his story as he was graduating college, finishing his basketball career at Western Kentucky University, and transitioning into the NFL. So we're going to get into that. George is a father. He's a husband. He's a man of faith. And he's going into his 11th year in the National Football League. And we are so excited to have George on the podcast today. George, thank you so much for being here with us, buddy.
Man, thanks for having me, man. I'm happy that we was able to get it done.
No question. I want to hop right into the story, man. You're going into your 11th season in the NFL. But 11 years ago to the date, me and you were on a journey together. And you called me as you were leaving Bowling Green, Kentucky, and you didn't have an agent. You were looking for a trainer in a training facility to prepare you for an NFL workout. And I knew the football coach down at Western Kentucky University, Jeff Brom, who's now at University of Louisville, and he's a great friend of mine, was in my wedding, and he spoke very highly of you, George. But I'll be honest with you, man, when I got the call from you, I'm thinking, man, this dude hasn't played football since he was in middle school. Like, he's a 4-year starter at Western Kentucky University as a center, and he wants to try to make it to the NFL. In the back of my mind, George, I'm thinking, man, just take that overseas money that they're going to pay you to play basketball in Europe and live your life. But you didn't believe that was the calling God had for you. I want to know how you made the decision to choose the NFL over playing overseas professional basketball.
Yeah, man. And it's so funny, bro, because for me, sitting here talking about faith, like, that was the main key for me, right? So, like, I remember my dad, and my wife now, was my girlfriend at the time, my fiance at the time, my wife now, we were kind of talking about, praying about it, right? Because when this first whole thing happened where transition to football was even brought up to me, myself and my wife were heading overseas to play professional basketball, right? So this was presented, and at the time, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm going overseas. I had a nice contract overseas. My wife had a great contract overseas. We were going to keep hooping, right? So as it kept going, and I ended up hearing from an NFL GM at the time, actually, for the Cardinals, that just doesn't happen for a guy who doesn't play football, right? So it really made me kind of think about it a different way. And man, like, I just really had to step out on faith, man. It was one of those things where it was like, I'm leaving some guaranteed money on the table right now to go out here and try to chase a new dream, a whole new dream that I never even thought I would do, right? So it definitely was a whole journey in faith, and it really tested my faith throughout the whole journey. And I think it just makes me stronger as not only an athlete, but in my faith in general now.
George, take us back to that moment. Because right now we see you, right, played a decade plus, going on year 11 in the NFL, made a good amount of money, started, right, been around and on playoff teams, Super Bowl, all of these things. But back then, you were told that you may need to make a switch. What was going through your mind, or what were you feeling as you were going through that process? Take us back there.
Yeah, I talk about a lot now to, like, guys now when I'm telling them about this thing. But early in my career, freshman, sophomore year, you couldn't tell me I'm going to the NBA. Like, I'm like, hey, look, I've never averaged less than 10 in my career. Like, I'm going to get you 10 and 10. I'm a double-double guy. And I could really play ball, man. I don't want to toot my own horn and all like that, bro. But I could really hoop, right? So my whole life, I thought I was going to the NBA. That's my dream, right? So I really honestly dealt with, I won't say really mental health, but it was like a mental block. I'm going into my senior year, right? So I'm going into my senior year. This is a year I'm preseason, first team, conference player of the year, all the rest of this stuff, right? So I'm got a lot of pressure on me, but at the same time, I know, like, in the back of my head, like, I'm not in the back of my head, but having conversations that NBA probably isn't in my future, right? So I'm already kind of thinking beginning of the year, like, all right, what's next after this? Like, what am I doing? Like, am I going overseas? I haven't talked to any agents. I haven't talked to anyone, right? So my first 5 or 6 games, maybe 10 games of my senior year were probably the worst beginning of my career, like worst beginning of the season of my career. Like I had mental block. I couldn't hit free throws. I couldn't score. I couldn't do play my natural game. I just remember that, right? And now looking back at it now as a adult and a guy who kind of been through different things and being able to kind of talk about it, I realized that I was not only getting burnt out, but I was ready to try something new, right? It was like that. I knew that chapter of my life was heading to the end, right? And I just didn't know what was going to happen next, right? Man, looking back on it, bro, it was like I was already done with basketball before that season even started, right? I was already looking for the next thing, man. And it probably wasn't great for my season then, but it really got the ball rolling for me to see what's next in life. So yeah, that's definitely where I was at that time of my life.
Well, George, as you can remember, you made the transition to Cincinnati, Ohio. I think you had family in the area.
Mhm.
At that time, I was the director of performance for Ignition, and I had an NFL combine training program that I had been doing there for about a decade. And I remember you coming to Cincinnati, and we were trying to figure out, like, okay, man, you've got great size. During your pre-test evaluation, you moved well. I could tell you had great explosiveness, side-to-side agility, like you had it all. You had strength. But I was like, what position is he going to play? So at first we were thinking maybe tight end, maybe he's a defensive end. And then we settled, I think, at one point on offensive line. The problem was, Sam, I'm pretty good at like coaching the bench press and the vertical and the 40.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about playing offensive line.
Why
So
not?
I remember that George was in the facility one day and I had Jake Fisher that I was training. Jake came out of Oregon. He was an Oregon Duck. He was a second-round draft pick to the Bengals. And I remember connecting George and Jake started teaching George how to get in like a three-point stance. Now, Sam, fast forward 6 months. Monday Night Football is in Seattle, and George runs out on Monday Night Football as a starting left tackle. And John Gruden was calling the game, and he says, folks, this is unprecedented. I've never seen a player go from college basketball, having not played football since he was in middle school, to starting as a rookie. George, take me back to those ignition workouts and what you were trying to figure out in terms of what position you were going to play and how this was going to work out.
Yeah. No, most definitely. But it's funny because like you couldn't tell. I thought I was gonna be a tight end, man. Like it was tight end. Like no matter what, that's what I did my 5th year. Like when I went back for a 5th year, I was trying to be a tight end, right? But at the time, bro, I didn't care. Like I'm like whatever I got to do to get on the field, man. Like I was trying to do everything. I actually did my pro day at tight end, offensive line, defensive line, DN, and linebacker. So I did all of them. I literally was just jumping in different everybody's drills. Like I would go from one drill to the next, to the next, to the next, all the way, right? So I didn't care what it was, man. But me getting down here with you and then really starting to do like trying to figure out how to get a 3-point and what is a kick slide? Like how does that work? So it was one of those things, bro, where I was just like so eager to learn, bro. I'm like, all right, whatever I got to do. It was just fun to me because it was like I'm learning something new, right? So I knew that I had the physical ability to do it and I had the mentality as well, but it was just cool because I'm learning all these different techniques. I'm learning about what a kick slide is, what a post foot, all the rest of the stuff, man. So it was just like going back to like looking back on that, it was a great experience all the way through.
How did your body change, George, during that time? Like how tall, what was like height, weight before, and then also like after? How did it change?
Yeah, so my first day there at Western, when I went for my 5th year, I was 245, 240, 245. By the end of the season, I was 270, right? And then I get to Ignition, I'm working out. By the time I left Ignition, I was 290. When I got back to my pro day, I was 6'5", 290 at my pro day weigh-in.
Wow.
So my
And
body
then
changed all in that year, if even that.
And even when you were playing basketball, were you 6'5", 245, or were you like 225? Like, did you have to put on a ton of weight even while you
Yeah,
play? Like,
yeah.
how did that work?
My weight fluctuated throughout. When I first got into there, I was like a 225, 230, but I had the frame. I always had the frame, like shoulders, the rest of the stuff, right? So I was already a bigger player. 250 in basketball is big. And like if you 6'5", 250, that's a big dude, right? So I would never really try to get over 250 because it kind of affects the basketball game and stuff. So I was always like under that. But when I got to football, it was just like, oh, you got to get up like 260, 265, 270. So I just took the challenge and I really started to like lift weights and stuff. When I was playing basketball, I lifted weights. Whenever I lifted weights, I would gain muscle mass, right? So that would be the weight that I was gaining. So yeah, man. So once I kind of like changed my body and was able to like get on a different program, I gained the weight really fast.
So the culminating event, Sam, was the pro day. So we had probably 6 to 8 weeks to get George prepared for that. And George, I remember I actually drove from Cincinnati to Bowling Green, Kentucky, because I wanted to see this
Yeah.
with my own eyes. And I was able to watch you do the vertical to broad jump, run the 40-yard dash. And I was able to just watch the scouts that were there kind of in amazement and all of them taking notes. And then, like you said, at the end of it, like they're wanting you to try out for every different position. Um, what do you remember about pro day? And do you remember any of your specific numbers?
Man, I do. I do. So I remember at the pro day, it was like I was just gonna go get it, man. I had just had my son. I had my first child like maybe a week before Clipper. I went home early, right? I went a week or
Mhm.
maybe 2 weeks before. So I got into that thing. I was hungry, man. I'm like, I'm getting it, right? I was like, whatever it is, I'm trying to break the record in it, right? So me and Cliff had a really good talk the day before we went through a little walkthrough at Western and right before we took off, man, like, I just was like, all right, we gonna kill every single one of them, man. And I remember just going down the list, starting at bench. I was just checking off everything, checking off boxes, bro. Like, we got a number we want to hit, let's hit it. Boom, we got that on bench. We got what it was on 40. We got the broad jump. We was just really just checking off boxes, man, the whole way through, bro. And then I knew it, like I kind of knew that I kind of killed the 40 after I did the 40 because Cliff was like, all right, don't run a second one. Like I ran a 4.8 at 290. He like, yeah, you good. Don't even worry about it. I'm like, he like telling me hand me a little tight. I'm like, all right, bet. So yeah, ran the 4.8, bro, and it was over there, and it was like, and it was cool, bro, because like I've never done these drills at defensive line, I didn't care, bro. I was just like, I would get behind the person, and whoever doing it, I'll just do the same thing they did, bro. So, like I said, I was just hungry, man. I was eager. I was just wanted to go out there and just dominate that joint, bro, from beginning to end. And I felt like I did that.
Mm. So what was draft weekend like? You said you were getting calls from GMs of the Cardinals. I'm guessing was that maybe Steve Keim back then, or maybe it was, I'm not sure who would have been back then, but what about the draft weekend? It could have been Rod Graves as well.
It wasn't him.
Um,
It was somebody
what
else.
was the draft weekend like for you after going through this pro day and then not knowing what was going to happen in football?
Yeah, yeah. So honestly, I really felt like I was gonna get drafted, like because at the time at Western, we had a really good class of guys. We had a really good quarterback, Brandon Doughty. We had Tyler Higbee. We had someone else that was there that was coming out that I can't remember off the top of my head, but we had some guys that were there, and really just Doughty and Higbee were the two guys. And they were having teams come and see them, and I would just walk out there. Like they'll have a workout with the Seahawks, and Tyler and Higgs would be like, Higgs and Dowdy would go out there to run routes. I didn't care. I'll throw my stuff on and just go work out with them. Right. So, and every time, man, the scouts would come to me like, hey, like, and you know what I'm saying? So I was doing something right, obviously. And then I started getting my own workouts where guys would come to work out with me. I think the Patriots came work me out. And so then I really thought I was going to get drafted. Right. So like people were calling me draft day, like, hey, we're going to get you late. We're going to get you late on the last day. So I really felt like I was going to get drafted, man. But as soon as the draft was over and I didn't, I literally heard from every team, all 32. So I got an offer from all 32 teams right after the draft, and I ended up picking Seattle because Coach Pete Carroll was like really big on undrafted free agents. Like they had the most undrafted free agents on their 52-man roster. So it was just like, all right, he doesn't care like if you're first round, second round, third round, whoever can play, gonna play, right? So once my agent told me that, I didn't care about anybody else, bro. Like I actually turned down money to go to Seattle. So and I ended up being their highest paid free agent that year. So I was like, yeah, I'm cool with that.
Wow. Well, take me through that, George. Obviously, you're through the draft. You decide to sign with the Seattle Seahawks as a priority free agent. What was it like walking in there for rookie minicamp?
Yeah, I was just telling my transition guys this today, actually yesterday, and we were just kind of talking about how like going back looking at it, thinking about it. I remember first getting there and they put you in that little room and everybody's in there. Then they take you to go get all your helmets and fit you for all your stuff. And as I'm coming through that door, I'm the last one, and they like, "Hey, you need to go upstairs." So I'm thinking I'm about to get released that quick. Like I just got here, I literally just got off the bus, right? So I'm just sitting in this chair upstairs where like in the front office, and I could kind of like see into the room where like all the coaches are meeting, and I'm just sitting there probably for like 20 minutes. And then first Coach Carroll comes out, he introduces himself. He's like, "Hey man, really happy to have you here." And he's like, "Hey, what position you want to play?" So I'm like, "I play tight end. That's all I really know." So he goes back in the office, and then a couple minutes later, John Snyder comes out and he's like, "Yeah, same thing. Happy to have you here. Like, what position you want to play?" And I'm like, "Tight end." So they get my stuff. They literally grab me, take me to like the offensive line room with a playbook. Never been in the line room in my life. So I'm like, all right, bet, whatever. I'm here. Like, I'm just going, whatever the person in front of me does, I'm going to do. Right. So I'm watching the film, never had like a one-on-one rep or never like did a pass set against anyone ever. Right. So watching the guys in front of me, like on film, they showing the guys on film. And at the time it was Russell Okung. So that's who I was watching. And I'm like, all right, boom. So I'm watching him. I'm like, okay. Like I'm just literally in my chair in the back of the room watching him. I'm just like, okay. Coach Tom Cable was like, hey, we're gonna go out here. We're gonna do these drills. He's writing all the drills down, and he says, when we get out there, here's the first group. So I'm like, he raises up the board. I'm the first left tackle on the board. So I didn't
Wow.
watch anybody in front of me. So it was just like, hey, whatever it is, I'm just gonna go hard and we'll figure it out. So first day was obviously jitters and trying to figure it out. And then I remember coming in the room and him saying like a big thing he kept talking about was like nobody's running off the ball. Like everybody's like just playing patty cake and all the rest of the stuff. So I just wrote that on my book, like run off the ball. I didn't care about technique or anything. So the next day, I remember just first run play, I just sprinted at the dude as fast as I could, bro, and just try to run him over, and I did, right? And that's all they needed to see. It was over from there, man. I knew I was going to at least make it to training camp, and that was just the mentality that I brought to it, bro. I didn't care what was going to happen. I was just going to try to run through people, run off the ball, and just kind of see how it goes from there. And then I just kept the mentality all the way through.
What about rookie year, George, right? That's training camp, but then obviously the season starts.
Yeah.
And there's preseason and there's a regular season. People talk about even the playoffs, like there are different levels to it. What was that transition like for you from OTAs to training camp to actually being a rookie and playing?
Crazy. If I tell you my first first game actually, but my first like 3 days were Mike Bennett, Cliff Averill, Frank Clark. So first 3 days, boom, right off the ball, right? And I had to like go against those guys every single day, right? So every single day, but it made me a lot better and better and better. Every time, like me and Frank Clark was battling all the time. Like he was obviously like getting better because he knew the game, right? And I'm trying to learn it. But if I knew that if I can block him, I can block anyone. So first game was Kansas City Chiefs. My first sack of my career was against Chris Jones. Like that's both of us our rookie year. That was his first sack ever in the NFL. And that was the first sack I ever gave up was Chris Jones, right? So man, that was like the welcome to the NFL moment for me. And then, but from there, man, like it was just like a learning experience all the way through, right? So, and then you go into the season, I I make the roster, right? I don't get cut. I make the active roster, which was a big surprise to everyone, right? So into that season, my first time into a real game was against the Arizona Cardinals. It was probably the fourth quarter, almost the end of the fourth quarter. It's like 4 minutes left in the game. And it was tie game, 3-3 the whole game, right? So this is crunch time. And left tackle gets hurt. I just get thrown into the game. Chandler Jones, probably the hardest guy to block in the NFL at the time. And I'm holding my own. He's getting me, but I'm holding my own, man. And from there, I just never looked back, man. Once I walked in that game, I was like, I'm not coming back out. That was my mindset. I'm like, I'm taking this job until I'm done, right? So, and it happened, man. I ended up taking that job, and I started the rest of the year, the rest of the 13 games, all the way to the playoffs.
That's incredible. Sam was with the Arizona Cardinals. I may have to pull the film because he may have been on the team that year. Y'all may have been squabbling. Y'all may have been squabbling out there a little bit.
You might have been.
Yes. What year? So rookie year was what year for you?
2016.
2016. So I was in Chicago in 16, but I think we did play Seattle. It might not have been that year, but later on down the line.
Yeah, no, it was that year. I think it was earlier in that year. It was, I want to say it was like week 2 because I had, what is the defensive end from he was Quinn.
Oh yeah, Robert Quinn.
That was I think it was his first year there or something like that, 2016. Maybe I'm wrong. That could be like a year or two later. So.
Mm-hmm. I got a question, George. You talked about it's not just the physical, it's the mental.
Yeah.
When you got on the field, Tom Cable said, hey, man, we're coming off too soft. And you decided, I'm going to run these guys over.
Yep.
How do you see that? Or how do you evaluate when you watch basketball to know that a guy's going to have that mindset?
Yeah, bro. It's dog. You either got it or you don't, right? So, and I don't want to give all my secrets away. Unfortunately, bro, there's people out there who and it is what it is, man. Like I wish them all the best of luck too with this thing, bro. But there's stats that are in basketball that are physical stats, right? Offensive rebound, one of those things, man. Like if you getting offensive rebound is not, it's a skill, right? It's not just like lucky. Hey, I got a rebound. Sometimes yes, but it's really a skill, right? So if you can physically move somebody out of the way and understand angles, right? So you got to understand, to be a great offensive rebounder, you have to understand angles, right? And that's the same in football, right? So if we're talking about offensive line run game, it's angles. It's all it is. It's just physicality and angles, right? So if you can teach those things, like if you can make that translate, like they're gone, right? So those are the things I'm.
George, you spoke of transition. I want to know, Lord willing, you play a couple more years here in the NFL, but what does transition look like for you? I know you play a lot of golf. You enjoy playing golf.
Sure.
Obviously, you've got this agency set up. What does transition look like for you after the NFL?
Yeah, so I have a few different things, man. I've kind of dabbled in a lot of different stuff business wise, and I kind of landed on a few things. I have my own development firm where we develop in real estate, commercial mostly, and we do that. And I have F&S real development firm. We're here basically based out of Nashville, North Nashville, Buchanan Street, a few commercial properties there. So that's really like one of my little bit bread and butters over there. And then also, I plan on being a full-time agent after this. So maybe after I retire, I'll probably get my agency license and continue to build out SPSG long term.
And then what about family? Or you said, man, you and your wife were getting ready to go overseas and y'all made a different decision. What does family look like for you?
Man, it's everything for me, man. Me and my wife, Chastity, we're blessed to have our 5th child coming. So yep, house full. We have 3 boys, 2 girls now. So man, it's been great. Man, I'm really looking forward to, and it's part of it right now, right? So it's like I want to continue to play. I want to play as long as I want to. I can, right? But at the same time, my kids are getting older. My sons are all of them are playing sports. They're all doing their own thing, man. So what I'm enjoying right now is these last few seasons. I don't sign until like late July, August, right? So I'm AAU dad, man. We on the road. We load the van up and we gone, man. So I'm enjoying that, man. And just kind of like working with my kids every day and just like having dad home is they really enjoy it, and I am too. And then for my wife, man, just being able to spend more time with her, like, has been huge. And for her, she's been wanting to like, step out and do different businesses and do different things herself, right? So it's cool to be able to be home and help support her with those things. And it's really just been a blessing all the way around.
Much respect to you, George, because obviously you've been at the pinnacle. You're playing in the NFL. And Sam and I talk about this a lot on the podcast, that we see a lot of players in the NFL, they win, but then they lose it all. And what I mean by that is financially, they lose it. With their family, they may lose it. And it's really sad to see. Obviously, Sam played in the league for about a decade. I coached in the NFL for about a decade and have trained about 500 professional athletes. So I've been around this long enough to know it's hard. It's a journey. And I want to know kind of how you've been able to keep your faith and your family at the forefront, even though you've had a great amount of success on the field.
Right. Yeah, and like what you just said a second ago, man, like it's easy to lose it, man. Like it really is. I mean, it's hard to get it, but it's easy to lose, right? So
Mm,
I think a lot of that comes with lifestyle, right? So you get stuck in the lifestyle you live in while you playing in a professional sport. And then also with that, man, like a lot of guys don't know what's next, right? You don't know
mm,
even who you are after sports, right? You've been George Fant your whole life, the football player, the basketball player, and now when the ball starts rolling, starts bouncing or rolling, like it's like, all right, what's next? Like,
mm.
so that's why it's important to be kind of like doing some different things, man, or working with different vets. Like it's I don't want to like jump off the topic, but it's I think it's even more important. It's crazy to me that in a locker room, we're in a locker room of multi-millionaires, multi-millionaires, and zero guys work together in the locker room. Like that's to me is crazy. Like it should be guys should be like just like at the country club. Like guys are at the country club making deals all the time. Like, hey, what you
Mhm.
want? Oh, I might want to get in on that. So and to me, I think that's kind of crazy. And I think that's something I think should change. And maybe hopefully the PA can do something to help guys get together a little bit there and what their common interests are. And I think that would kind of help. Just my personal stuff, like growing with God with my family. I think that's probably the most important thing.
We talked about faith, George. I love the answer you're talking about family. We talked football. I want to talk finances for a minute, man. You
Yeah.
talked about being, I love how you said, like, in locker room, guys aren't doing deals, but who do you go to? Like, who do you work as far as a team, or who do you go to for advice when you think through some financial decisions?
Yeah. So what I did most recently, right? So probably I'll say like the last 4 years, 4 to 5 years, right? And let's back up, man. I wish that I was more in tune with my finance when I was younger, right? And it's one of those
Yeah.
things where you hear it all the time, and you like, oh, make sure you're taking care of this. Like at the time, you coming from like nothing, pretty much. You want to get all the things you want, everything you want, right? Like financial literacy was just not anything I knew about, right? So I think the thing that did it for me was sitting in the office in Seattle with Mo Kelly, who's our like player personnel director, and sitting back and I would just listen to Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, Cam Chancellor, and all those guys, and they'll have meetings literally in there with different investors and financial advisors and their team, right? So I was just kind of already seeing that. Russell Wilson too. Russell was ridiculous, right? So all those guys were doing it, right? And once I finally got a nice little check in New York, I knew right then I needed some help, right? So I started building my team. Not only did I just get a financial advisor, CPA, all the rest of the stuff, right? I went and got a manager, right? So a person to kind of help me manage all this, right? Like it's not easy to do by yourself. Like, it's easy for someone to you give your money to someone and literally just turn your back and walk off and go do football and all the rest of the stuff, right? And you can't be there every single second to check on every single thing. You can, but let's be honest, like it's tough, right? So I when I hired that person, it's really just kind of helped all my stuff grow together and go in the right direction, right? So I'm always checking everything. Like I'm always able to kind of check in and out. And what's so cool is like the blessing of it was like I didn't have to like go break a bank on a manager like where he's taking like 5% of your stuff. Like we're talking about like just like a small one-time payment to kind of help you manage over your stuff, right? And I think that's what's been like the whole change for me. It helped me kind of develop off the field, like start looking at doing my own business, start looking at becoming my own boss, right? Not only just working for someone. Like the reality is we work for someone in the NFL, right? So when you come out of that, you're not wanting to work for anybody else, right? You want to work for yourself. So I think that was big for me, man. Like I just started to learn a little more about my finance. It forced me to kind of like really start asking questions because I remember younger when I first got a financial advisor, I would just sit back and be like, "Oh yeah, okay." And then like when I got him, it was like when he's sitting in these meetings with me, he like, "Hold on, stop, explain that." And it things that I just wouldn't do, it made me start doing that. So now I don't even have him with me, but I still do those things now, and I learned every single way, every single thing about every single dollar, and and it's cool, man. Like starting to learn about every single dollar like a soldier, and know where it's going and when it's bringing back, what it's bringing back for me.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, I work in that space now a lot. And we talk about giving every dollar a job, right? Educating athletes financially on how to win without losing it all. And so I love the fact that you're thinking through, man, how do I give these dollars a job? Faith, family, football, and finances. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we've hit it all, man, Sam. We've covered all four of those things here with George today. But, George, before we get off, I do want to ask you, what's the greatest adversity you have faced in your life? Even if you think back to your childhood, like what is a painful moment in your life that became a purposeful moment in your life?
Man, it's tough. So, and it's easy to answer. It was 2022. I came off the best year of my career, 2021, playing left tackle for the New York Jets. I was supposed to make life-changing money, right? And this was me being one of the top left tackles in the game. I was on my way to making life-changing money. Sustained an injury at the end of the year. Kind of tore some cartilage in my knee. Had to go get a little cleanup. The whole process after that was just not handled correctly, right? And I don't want to blame anyone. No, I don't want to blame team, myself, or anything. Things just happen, right? So at that point in time, like I didn't, I at the beginning, I thought my career was over. Like I went from about to make life-changing money to maybe not getting picked up. Like I didn't get a call the first day of free agency after that year. Didn't get anything early. Everyone was offering me vet minimum. And I kind of like not only just bet on myself, man, I had to like stand by my faith again, like just like at the beginning of this thing, right? And that's when the Houston Texans called me in 2023. And I ended up starting the whole season at right tackle for the Texans and going to the playoffs, right? So going deep into the playoffs. So that was like the biggest adversity that I had to get through, right? Going through that whole bad process, whole bad year in New York and feeling anger, hate, sad, literally all the emotions, man. Anger, hate, sadness, happy to get back on the field when I got to the Texans, man, and going through it and kind of getting my career back on path. So that's probably the biggest adversity I got through.
That's so good. Man, well, George, we want to say thank you so much, man, for not only hopping on the podcast, but even showing an example of what it's like to transition well. You talked earlier, you said, man, my transition players, right? These guys who are playing basketball, but they have something inside of them that people don't see. And you said, man, I'm even growing in my agency and even in my faith and in my family. Like it's encouraging for me to see just as you're still playing and still doing it on the football field, you building off the field. I know Sherm pretty well with NFLPA. I know Cam as well. Russell Wilson, of course. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. We're gonna connect offline on some of the stuff that we talked about. But man, thank you for being that example for so many people, and also, like I said, giving back to the game.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, bro. I really appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. And thank you all so much for joining the Sam Acho podcast featuring Cliff Marshall. We can't wait to see you soon.